we're here today with Christine Page, and we're going to be speaking about her personal insights, her book, and her future speaking engagement a few months' time in London. And hopefully anyone who's listening to this interview will be able to understand a little bit about where she's coming from, and if they're interested in popping along, they should see the benefit of it. First of all, thank you very much, Christine, for doing this with us.
Well, pleasure is mine. Can I just say up front that it's Alternatives that I'm going to in Piccadilly in London, and it's on May the 11th. It starts at 7 p.m. So, yes, as you say, anybody is welcome, and it's a lovely site to go to anyway to do a talk. So please come along.
I was there a few weeks ago, actually, seeing another speaker, and it really is a brilliant venue. And I recommend anyone to go there. They have weekly events, a whole range of speakers, and we will have a link from our website to it. So obviously anyone listening to this will be able to find where you're going to be.
Great, that'd be fabulous. Thank you.
I suppose the first thing to do would be for anyone who's not up to speed with yourself, your work, and your writings. How you sort of found yourself studying, if you like, alternative medicine, homeopathy, that sort of thing, because I believe you started off a more traditional medicine background. Is that right?
Well, that's always a nice way of putting it. I actually, Tom, which is I always like to be able to say this, is I started off with psychic matters and healers because that's what my mother was into. And so I had an upbringing where I would go to places like the College of Psychic Studies or the Spiritual Association of Great Britain and actually experience channeling or mediumship or all of these things at a very young age. And I just loved it. It all made sense to me. And also to be involved around healers. And as you know, in Britain, the healers are very much non-denominational. It's not a religious experience. So I think that the understanding of all these natural medicines, including homeopathy, came from my mother and my mother's friends. And I really went, the question is often, why did I go into medicine? And I think I went into medicine because it felt like it really didn't matter to me that maybe the more conventional medicines have some things that I may not totally agree with, because my interest was to help people to become whole. And I don't think I've ever stopped. I'm now 30 years qualified. And people would say, you left medicine. And I go, no, I went into medicine to help people to become whole. That's the meaning of healing. And I'm still doing it. So
sure. It doesn't just suddenly stop, does it? It's a continuous process.
It doesn't. And, once I feel the challenge is still, even all these years on, of really understanding mind, body, spirit. And, there is still a differentiation, even in complementary medicine, into our way and their way, or really the defining of what it is to be a spiritual human being, which to me doesn't mean having to meditate all the time or live in a certain way or eat certain foods. We are all spiritual human beings, and to me that's what we're all becoming, is more comfortable with that alliance between our, you could say, humanness and our spiritual, which to me are one and the same.
Well, that's brilliantly led into my second question, in fact, which is, what would you say to anyone who is feeling drawn towards becoming a healer of whatever practice that is? I know two close friends of mine, both in the last sort of year or so, have started studying. One is studying to become homeopathy. The others get very much into Reiki and energy healing. And it seems to be the last few years, a lot of people are starting to really awaken to becoming healers in whatever sense that means. Do you think that there is a sort of a switch that's gone off in a number of people?
I think so. I think, when you say, what would I say to everybody, I would say, physician, heal thyself.
Sure.
As I say, I have been around healers, I'll say 50 years. And there is, I have met fabulous healers, and I will say that's from the surgeons I worked with within the hospital system and the nurses and the physiotherapists to more eclectic forms of healing, and right out into the indigenous people. I've had the pleasure of meeting Maori healers and Native American healers, Aboriginal healers, and I feel we are, first and foremost, we are all healers. And that natural tendency, as everybody always describes, of a mother hugging a child, or any of us who feel that we have compassion for someone else, that's healing. When we go into a specific practice of healing, and it's almost hard because I'd say there's people in every field of work who has a healing energy. So my question or my suggestion to people when they say, I'm going to leave this job and go into healing, I go, no, stay in the job you're doing, because your desire is to bring healing to the profession you're in. If you choose to leave and become what we would designate a healer, be mindful of which type of healer you are. Some people do it through their words, some people do it through their hands, some people do it through something like a homeopathic remedy. But always remember, you are the healer. It doesn't really matter what the tool is. And secondly, I have been around those who say, I'm just a channel for God, or I'm just a channel for the divine light. And they will say, I don't need to do my own work because I am that channel. And my analogy, Tom, is always this. Even however clean the water is, if you put it through a rusty pipe, it will come out rusty. And so there is no excuse for anybody to think that just because they're doing something for so-called the divine or spiritually, that they don't have to clean up their own energy. Otherwise, as healers, all we do is project our unfinished business onto somebody else.
I think that's beautifully put. And they're absolutely right, of course. And I think probably the reflection on that is a lesson that we could all learn, even though some people may not class themselves as healers, but they should try to at least heal themselves for whatever position they're from.
Absolutely. And if could I just say that when you use the word reflection, any of us will keep attracting into our life people who have a certain issue in order for us to know ourselves. Man, know thyself is the greatest healing. And so if we do get directed into a healing mode, or any type of our world, if we keep attracting a certain type of energy and we get fired up by it or even irritated by it, it is there for our healing. So what I say is, when I give great advice to 3 people in a row and it's the same advice, I'm the one that needs to be listening, not the people who come to me. They are my healers.
Well, again, brilliantly is led on to my next question, which was, in a previous interview, I heard you say something that I thought was very profound and reflected to me, certainly, and spoke to me, which was, you said, what we judge is usually what we fear becoming.
Yes.
And I think I had some sort of insight into that, certainly when someone tries to become a sort of more spiritual person on the spiritual path, you start looking at all the people that haven't read the same books and haven't taken the time to meditate, and hadn't thought, oh my God, I'm having a breakthrough, and go, well, look at them, aren't they stupid? They haven't seen the way, the light, whatever. But as you said before, if you're judging people, then perhaps you're really judging yourself. And do you have anything to sort of expand on that?
Yes, and I will just thank you. Wonderfully said as well. And what I want to say is that first of all, the word human means creative. So creative man, we are here to create ourselves, and those who have been brought up religiously create ourselves in the image of the divine, of the source. And it's just saying is we're meant to be here to create ourselves fully here on this earth, to bring heaven down onto earth. And so when we first come into this world, we carry with us a spiritual blueprint, or a blueprint that's still in the essence form. I say it's like having the lid of a jigsaw, but you're not so sure about how to put the pieces together. And of course,